All right. Welcome to the Nitty Gritty Podcast. We have a very special guest today. I was really excited to, I would say, our most powerful guest so far. Wouldn't you?
You're going to offend some people with that. I like it.
Yeah, Susan.
I don't care if they get offended. Listen, I'm just talking powerful in the sense of social media juggernaut, right? How many total followers do... Hold on. This is the problem. This is the ADHD kicking in. We have Anna Macfarlane here from Kids Are the Worst, Things Are the Worst. Anna is the worst.
That's right.
And then your
there
own social
others.
media
We
page.
don't want to talk about
we
it.
Don't, we don't want to talk about it.
It's ridiculous.
Some of the funniest content I've seen in the last month. The Kids Are the Worst. I've got 4 kids. Oldest is 12, so I've got some youngsters still, and I can relate to a lot of things on there. But, oh my gosh, such good stuff.
It's really easy to get going and not stop on those videos.
Well, that's the goal.
I guess that's right. I mean, so I guess starting off, we were just talking about this. What are you doing all of this? Are you finding all the memes? Or I mean, I know that you're featuring a lot of stuff from your followers. Mm-hmm. You know, you'll put stuff on there, like the question this morning or yesterday about, like, you know, if something that happens to babies happened to an adult, like, or you know, what would be the funniest? And the first one that I saw was just like, if every time I cried, somebody shoved a boob in my mouth. And you're like, I know some people that would like that.
They would love it. They would cry a lot more. They'd be crying all day long. You'd be like, all right, we get it.
I'm so sad again. I'm so sad.
And I'm hungry. Here you go. I know.
We're going to have fun. This is great.
Fun.
So how much of that is you?
On Instagram, it's 95% me. Okay. And then I have Facebook and website, and I have people that help with that because I'm just one person, and I have other things I'm working on too. So that's why sometimes Instagram, I try to keep 3 posts a day, but I've been falling a little behind. So that's been a little bit tricky. But yeah, it's hard to let go of some things. Sure. You know, as you grow and as you change your business, there are just some things that you kind of want to keep holding on to. And that's one of them for me.
Got it. Well, it's probably fun to do.
Yeah.
So where do you find, what's your spot that you go to find, because I mean, you're creating the content that makes it funny, you know, putting your own meme or whatever on it. But where are you finding the videos? Where are you finding the...
Yeah. Do you want me to tell secrets? Okay.
Oh, is it secrets?
I'm teasing.
Sorry. You can say no.
Now everyone's going to copy me. It's fine. No. So at first it was people sending me photos and videos of their kids. And that's kind of how it started. You know, we were thinking like Humans of New York, but yet that would be really weird if I was following kids around in parks, taking pictures and videos. So I just asked parents to send me pictures. But that's really slowed down a lot lately. And so, you have to go onto different apps where you can find videos or photos, or just go see what's trending, find those things. Or I just like to look at things like I'll just search Golden Girls because I just always good content with the Golden Girls. But then it makes me think of something else, and then I'll go find something else, you know, because it's just such funny humor. Right. And it'll make me think, oh yeah, that was funny. I'm going to go find something that's similar. And it's just kind of a research type of thing, you know. Well,
it's kind of like Andrew's very prepared in here usually. Maybe not today because he's going to Bora Bora today. His mind might be
later tonight
in another place.
Word.
See, that's how special you are. I was like,
wow.
Listen, Anna Macfarlane's coming.
Wow,
I don't care that you're flying out today.
Bora.
We've got to meet. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. But
be awesome.
I feel like because he's prepared, most of the questions I asked here are based off of, you know, an answer that he gets.
That's
and
nice.
So I can imagine that's probably how it goes. You start digging. I mean, it would be a wormhole. How do you control that? How do you like
timers? I have to. Because also speaking of just like attention, you have to set timers because you can't. I mean, that's social media and the internet in general. You have to set limits for yourself, or else it becomes not enjoyable, or it becomes frustrating, or you just find yourself depressed, or you know, there are lots of real reasons why it can get overwhelming. So yeah, I have to just be like, okay, Monday between this time and this time.
Do you have actual alarms set on your phone?
Oh yeah, my watch. Thank you, Apple Watch. That's like my favorite feature. I never knew I wanted and needed because, you know, it's buzzing in your hand. Yeah. Like I think when Alexa goes off and her timer goes off, I'm like, all right, turn it off. But like when your watch does, I don't know. There's something about the physical buzz for me. I'm like,
it's very true.
Well, the time blocking for like efficiency is it's so important to be able to, you know, block that time out because you can get so much more done. Say you have 30 minutes for this social media. if you are focused on that for 30 minutes, you're going to get way more done than if you check it 100 times for a minute at a time throughout the day.
Well, it's intention.
Yeah.
So I'm jumping the gun here, but in some of my courses that I have, it's like set the intention for 20 minutes and only do that. And then it doesn't become a time suck. And you're not going and looking at your friends. You've gone down those wormholes where you looked at your friends and who she tags. And then you look at who they've tagged. And then suddenly you're like, whose page is this? Why am I here?
What am I doing?
You're like, why do I care at all about these people?
Yeah.
And so when the intention's set and the timer's set, then you get so much done, and then it benefits you, and you're like, oh, this is actually really rad.
Yeah.
And I like that.
This sounds like Russian to me.
Russian.
Welcome. It's called discipline and structure.
Just like once in a while, not every day.
I'm a horrible scheduler. I'm trying.
Oh, same.
I like the Apple Watch idea, though. Although I do have a funny story I haven't shared yet on the podcast that I think it's a warning to all of us about Apple Watches.
Oh, no.
So the other night, I don't know if it's my fat wrist or what, but Siri, I don't want to say it out loud.
She
right?
never listens to me, though.
Well, she doesn't listen to me, but she just pops up randomly. And all of a sudden I'm talking to my wife the other night.
Oh.
And I'm like, I don't know what, we were trying to get kids down. The kids weren't in the room, luckily. Anyway, it says, what can I do for you or whatever she says. And I'm like, nothing, you whore. And she goes, okay, I'll send that.
No, what? Send what?
Nothing, you whore was texted to my Elders Quorum president. I kid you not. Like, I called him immediately. I was like, Dave, I'm sorry.
I was talking to my wife.
I was talking to this guy, and he goes, that's what he said. He goes,
Oh my
listen,
gosh.
man, some people
Your
talk to
your
each other
dog.
differently. I'm like, I'm not judging. I'm like, okay, thanks, man, because it really was just Siri. I hate her. And
She only answers me when I say seriously. When I'm talking to someone, I'm like, seriously?
I wonder if
And they're
maybe
like,
that's what it
Like,
was.
no, what?
So anyways, be
not
careful
talking
with
to
your
you.
Apple Watches, because what if
Oh.
it sent it to like my female accountant? She's like,
Like, how
did
much
you
money
ask
do you
for
have?
something earlier?
How much money do we have? Nothing. Oh,
So
no.
yeah, anyways, Apple Watches are good, but they can get
Be
you in
careful.
trouble. Luckily, it went to my
all
Elders Quorum
the
president.
tech can get you in trouble.
So where did you, I can't wait to kind of get into what you're doing, but I'm
Okay.
curious on how you got to where you are.
Sure.
As far as like growing up, did you grow up around here?
I grew up in Arizona,
Okay.
Mesa, which is like, Provo light.
Yep.
Totally.
So maybe
I
Provo
lived in Gilbert for
heavy.
2 years.
Did you really?
Just like that's where I got my barbecue start.
No way.
Believe it or not, this is just like 10 years ago. I love it down
Yeah,
there.
Gilbert's like New Mesa.
Where'd you go to high school?
Can you guess where everyone went to high school?
Mountain View.
Yes, I did. Go Toros.
That's like the Tim View of Mesa.
Oh, no, it's like I'll meet people and we'll be talking and suddenly find out we're both Toros and we're just like, yes, and it's
There's
all
so
exciting. And
many
then
Toros.
they graduate 10 years after I did. I'm like, bye.
When did you graduate?
96.
Hey, I'm only a year after you.
90. Oh, there's a bump.
Nicely done.
That was a little.
We're old.
Got my wrist.
What you're a
Older.
2000s, aren't you? Of course
You're
you are.
in the 2000 or 2000?
2002.
2002. That's practically 96.
It's like the same thing.
I mean, let's see. You're in 6th grade. Fine, almost the same when I graduated.
So let's see. I'm trying to think of football players because John Beck would have been
Yes,
in
he's
school then.
younger.
Right.
And with Todd Heap,
Yeah, that's
he
right.
was just younger than I am.
Amazing tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they had some good football teams back then. So my cousins went
yeah.
to Mesa High. They were Jackrabbits during that time.
That's what we called number 2.
Right, exactly.
That was our
It
Mesa
was a
Rabbits
rivalry.
number 2.
The purple
Anyway,
and gold.
yeah.
So yeah, those were pretty fun games. My business partner busted. I don't know if you know Scott Warner.
I feel
Gig
like I do.
is his company.
Yeah, that
Anyways,
feels-
we're
sounds so
cousins. He
familiar.
owns a piece of this, but
Okay.
yeah, the Mountain View game was the biggest of the year, and he broke his fibia and tibula first play of the game.
That's right. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, first play of the game.
I
Like
wasn't there.
it
I
was
didn't
like he
play.
lived for that game. It's like
It's the
BYU
best.
Utah. They hate each other. Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, great place to live though.
It was great. So yeah, I grew up there. I went to, I graduated from the University of Utah. I won't say anything. I'll just like flash my you. No, it's funny
I know.
because I'm like the only one in my family and in my neighborhood. It's just BYU was just everything for everyone. And,
Right.
and I don't know even how it happened. It was like transferring from other places and it just made sense. And,
And you're a Greer, right?
I am. Do you know my brother Nick Greer? Yeah.
I do know Nick. So
and Provo. Seems like people know him in Provo.
He's the brother-in-law of my neighbor.
The brother-in-law of your neighbor.
Yeah. So John Heiner.
Oh, John. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I live right next to
I was like
John.
trying to figure out how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, totally. That's rad.
So growing up, what was it like?
Nick is 1 year older. Well, 2 years older, 1 grade older than I am. And he and I don't know if this is like allowed to say in public. No, we didn't get along so well.
Yes.
He was the older brother that, it was just, everyone knew I was Nick Greer's sister, and it was a little competitive.
Does it still bug you?
Oh, no. Not anymore.
Yeah.
No, we've gotten to be really good friends, and we got married about the same time, and, we lived near each other, and certain things in business we've been able to do together. So it's been really fun.
And now way more people know who you are than him. So it's fair.
No, I don't know. Not in the UC.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to create drama.
No, it's
I love drama.
I always say like I have time to get to where he is because he's 2 years older than I am. So every time he gets more, I'm like, I have 2 years.
Good.
Oh, I have 2 years. I have 2 years. Like I got time. I have 2 years to get to where you are.
So did you guys grow up in an entrepreneur family? Like were your parents entrepreneurs?
For sure. My dad did a lot of different things in finance and entrepreneurship, and we learned how to be scrappy. Nick and I. We were in the bottom half of the family. So in the late 80s, there was a real estate crash that our family was part of. And so we got to figure out how to be really scrappy, really resourceful. And Nick was really entrepreneurial. He was selling fireworks. I probably should not tell that story. And cut that one out. Yeah. In Arizona when they were illegal. But it's fine. It's fine.
Statute of
But
limitations
he was like really
past.
good.
Good.
But he was just like smart, and he got a lot in, and he was really clever, and it was just fun to watch him. And we just did different things. I cleaned ladies' china plates. Hold on. Hold on. So I went to help old ladies clean their plates that they use for fancy times.
I feel like this is going to be a meme one that's going to pop.
Like I'm not explaining this well, and my accent could easily be misinterpreted on the microphone. Old ladies, etc. I could go worse, but we are in Provo, so I should be careful.
Oh, man.
I'm teasing. So, yeah, it was fun. I think I, grew up with those kind of family members, and so we just.
So how did your parents kind of instill that in you? Was it just kind of you watch them, or, was it an open discussion at family about business and entrepreneurship, or was it just something that that was natural out of you guys?
I don't know. I think part of it is when we got to a point where we lost all of our money and had to move into a rental, and we were eating lots of lentils, I remember, and oats in the early 90s. And I didn't get school lunch, and I didn't, but it wasn't like I never felt poor. And we just all would learn how to go scrap things together. And it's embarrassing. I was telling my kids this the other day, but in junior high, I would ask everyone for a quarter. Oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. But I would. I wasn't afraid to go up to like all my friends and be like, "You got a quarter? Got a quarter?" And then I'd get enough and I'd get a pretzel. And this happened like often. And if I wasn't in the mood, I'd go to the student council room and I'd rummage through the candy bins and grab some candy canes and old candy bars, and I'd be like, that's good. Like, I think we just kind of learned how to just make do and just find things and get in people's face to like be friendly but also get something, and it wasn't, I never felt like I was taking people's money. Like, I just felt like, oh, they were just giving me their change and they're my friend, and then we just like hang out and eat together. Like, in hindsight, if my kids were doing that, I'd be mortified. Like, mortified. Like, here's $1.
It's like, I just have a credit card. Sorry.
I know. Like, I would
That's
be
what kids would say today.
Embarrassed, but
I'm like, I'll send you a Venmo. I have a quarter
honestly,
in there.
But I'm not. I just think that was part of it. Just like we're about like getting things done, and my dad was just really resourceful and just figured things out, and we never felt like we were poor kids or anything like that. It just always felt like we were figuring things out.
But it's such a good lesson. I mean, I think we've had a few people in here that's kind of their story. Like my cousin Scott, who's been a guest on here, it was the same thing. Mm-hmm. Like they were we're originally from Southern California. some bad investment happened. They moved to Mesa, little house.
I love that.
Right?
That's where
I mean, well, I wonder if it was the time you were talking about, because
Sure.
houses are probably really cheap. My uncle had some contacts down there, but I mean, I lived there their senior year of high school. I had just graduated high school up here, and they were doing paper routes. I mean, even Kevin, my uncle, was doing a paper route. And so it was just like anything. I mean, these guys were playing football, and you know how serious it is down there.
Yeah.
Like they were waking up at 3:30, 4 in the morning, then going into lift with their high school football team, and then going to school. And then they'd go at night, pick stuff up late, fold. It was just crazy for like $30, $40.
Honestly.
But those two now, I mean, my two cousins, Scott and Trey, like, they are hustlers. I mean, they have put together really successful lives.
It just teaches you the grind.
And that's just it. Like, even like the fact that you're mortified about the quarter thing, whatever. You had a goal. Like,
I know. I wasn't like trying to make money.
No,
I was just trying to get a pretzel.
You were just trying to get a pretzel.
Or a bagel.
Listen,
you're super resourceful.
Yeah, and you gave people the opportunity to be giving.
And to have a smile.
Right.
A smile.
Like, they got blessings for giving you a quarter.
They really
so really
did.
you did them a favor.
It really was kind.
But I think that there's a lot that can be said. I mean, Gary Vaynerchuk always said that. Like, I listened to one the other day. It was funny. He told his 12-year-old, like, you know, in his language, right? You're rich as beep until you're 12, but then you're poor after you turn 13. Because I will tell you, he's like, the biggest favor you can do for your kids is say no. Just say no. Like, when they turn 13, you just say no. Like, if they want something, they have to get it themselves. And when we're kind of forced into that position, like, my parents got divorced when I was, 16. And we went from like 3 acres with a couple horses in the backyard to nothing.
Really?
I mean, and then you've got 2 households. Nobody has any money left. And so now the kids, it was the best thing that could ever happen to me. Because it's like, I got home from my mission and I'm like, well, there's no, I guess I'll go sell hot tubs. And then I sold alarms for 9 years. And it ended up being a huge blessing, because it does force you into becoming resourceful.
Right.
And just making it work. And how old were you when you're asking for quarters?
Yeah, middle school, junior high,
Right.
7th, 8th, 9th grade.
I mean,
yeah.
and that takes guts.
Yeah.
I mean, really. I mean, to ask
yeah.
for something like that, that's a big deal. And so
Well, you start to learn the worst thing they can say is no.
Oh, yeah, I don't have
You
any.
know,
Okay.
it's like, okay, you move on. Next, you have a quarter.
It's just so embarrassing. I can see it in my head, and I think, wow, girl. Yeah, but it didn't bother me.
Yeah.
And
like, you're telling me you have brand new Jordans and you don't have a quarter?
I know. No,
I wanted to see
I see.
how would you push, right?
Oh, I would
like-
never push because I did it daily. I would never make people feel bad.
Did
Maybe
you have
tomorrow.
groups? Did you
Maybe
have
tomorrow.
targets? Like, did you learn certain groups and
Gosh,
spread
we
them
really,
out?
like,
This is great, though. Come on.
So tragic. No, but I remember sometimes. So Arizona outdoor
Right.
eating. Why? That's so
That
gross.
is crazy.
But anyway, I remember the lines. They were all outside, and I would just go up the line. Oh, my word. And sometimes I'd hit a table. Like, oh, I'll just hit that table. I sound like such a, like, what? You know, like, please, sir, I want some more. You know, like,
panhandler?
I got a pape. Like, I just feel like it was so ghetto. No, but it was fine. It wasn't that big of a deal. It was just,
Mountain View. There's lots of rich kids there.
Poston. I mean,
Oh, Poston.
I didn't do it by Mountain View. I wasn't asking. I was
do
just.
know Poston.
You do?
Yeah, I think that's where Scott and Trey went before.
Did they? And then they went to Mesa? Maybe.
Poston, or is there Stapley?
Stapley? Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That makes more sense.
Maybe they're the rival middle schools.
They totally were.
This is a great story. Have you ever shared this story?
I know.
Oh, yes, we got
Just
one.
to my kids.
We got an exclusive.
And they're just embarrassed for me when I'm
it's
telling
so
them.
funny.
Well,
Well, we appreciate you sharing it.
well, there you go.
I mean, okay, so
Put it on my tombstone.
we
Got a
go to
quarter?
the U. Yeah. Got a quarter? You need to put that under your
Put a
Anna
shirt.
is the worst. Like, that should be your headline.
Got a quarter.
Got a
I mean, but
That's going to
I've
be our
like,
post. It's going to be a quarter.
Yeah.
you know, I've thought of that. I thought, man, if you could only ask like your followers for a quarter or $1, can you imagine?
Let's start a new charity
I think it would
campaign.
like flip a lot of things with content and with creation. So it would just make it for, you wouldn't want to have fake followers. You would really want to be engaging people, you know, if we thought of it like that and not just as like numbers, but as
Right.
actually as like exchanging something of value. Plus, it would be like really awesome. I would
Right.
love it.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, you would.
I mean, that would be really nice,
Yeah.
but no pressure.
Got a quarter?
I mean, here's my Venmo. If anyone's listening, quarter, dollar, whatever's in your Venmo account.
I think we could ask for $1 now, right?
Sure.
You can upgrade it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you go to the U, which
Yes.
I think if I had gone to college, so I'm a huge BYU athletics fan, but I can't really stand the school.
So that surprises me.
Yeah.
Only because I get it, but also like there's I probably shouldn't start talking
Say
about
it. Come on.
No,
do
but
it.
like with BYU not being affiliated with any conference or anything,
I know.
you know, how do you keep
It's hard.
following it? Because there's not a lot of going back into it as much, you know. So it's a
true.
trick.
It's true. I mean,
I can see
there's-
liking the school.
See, it's the opposite for me.
Yeah.
I can't stand the school. There's a lot of things about the school that drive me crazy. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of things about college in general that drives me
Sure.
crazy. So, but anyways,
Yeah.
that's another topic.
We
but
can-
so you go to the U.
I go to the U.
Did you study did you know right off the bat that's what you wanted to get into?
No, I got a degree in English,
Oh.
and I thought I was going to law school or business school because I thought that would be really interesting. And to me, it was just an undergrad, and I thought it would be a good stepping stone
Right.
to learn how to write and to know how to speak to people and things like that. So I got married
While you were in school?
right before I graduated.
Actually, did your parents want you to go to college? Because a lot of times, like the
Yeah.
entrepreneur background, education isn't necessarily encouraged.
I think that's newer though. I think that, you know, back in the 90s, way back then, you know, we're still talking to families who school is really important, and it was the stepping stone because you needed to have that just to have any credibility to get into business, to
true.
start working with people. And I see more and more that it's less important, especially as we have like Steve Jobs and Zuckerberg as our examples of not finishing
Yeah,
school.
Bill Gates, so
Yeah.
many of them. Right?
Yeah, and I always say to my kids, like, you don't have to go to school if you know what you're doing. But if you want to drop out of college, like you want to say Mark Zuckerberg, get into Harvard and drop out of Harvard.
Yeah.
Get into Stanford, drop out of
That's a great
Stanford. Like,
rebuttal.
Don't
don't.
drop out of UVU.
Yeah, like well, just like yeah, it's cool. Like go to Slick. I'm all about it.
Right.
But don't think you're one of these big shots dropping
Yeah.
out of Slick to start a business.
Yeah.
Like finish.
Harvard is if
Yeah.
you're smarter than Harvard.
Get
you
into
can
Harvard and
out.
drop out. Fine.
That's really funny.
But yeah, so my parents were all about the school. And my
Okay.
dad and I had a really good deal about school because I had a lot of older siblings. I'm the fifth of six. And we just made a deal that he would help me pay for college if I finished in under 4 years. And because he just saw a lot of people he knew, but also some family members, you know, just switching and just enjoying it. And I was all about the competition. I was
Right.
like, yes,
Yeah.
I will. I will finish faster than anyone in the family. And so he was able to help me with a lot of it. I just had to do a little bit of work. I didn't have to like work full time or.
Do you think
So-
he knew that about you? Do you think
Yeah.
by asking you to finish inside of 4 years, he knew like
Oh, for
you
sure.
could pull that off?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
That's a
That
pretty
was
smart
definitely.
move. That
oh,
saved
yeah.
him some money.
Yeah. I mean, in the long run, even if he paid for half
Right.
and I took longer, it would still cost him a lot more than
Yeah.
it did. And I got really scrappy again
Right.
and tried to get, in-state tuition. And that's also, a lot of different reasons that where I went, how I did. But yeah, so I went into English because I thought it was a good undergrad, and then got married, went and taught elementary school for a hot minute and realized, no, thank you. And
You'd be a fun teacher.
I was
Right.
great. And then they moved me to fifth grade, and I said, no way.
Oh,
I have to
yeah.
learn way too much. Do you know how much fifth grade teachers know
Oh yeah.
about all the topics?
Well, and then add Common Core to the mix or whatever that's called.
Yeah, I wasn't
That
there back
makes me
then.
feel like an idiot.
Oh, I remember one kid raised their hand and she said, what does pitch black mean? I was like really dark.
Like the
You know?
color? Yeah.
Like it's
It's
really
a Vin
dark.
Diesel movie. It's
Yeah,
really good.
Well, that was also before Vin Diesel. I keep aging myself here, and some kid, talked about, the pitch is, this tar. Yeah. And when they put tar on people. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me?
Real smart over there.
No, I'm glad. I'm glad he said it. The word was like right there. But yeah, the fifth grader in the corner. And I'm kidding. But I just felt so stupid that a
Right.
fifth grader was answering that. I'm like, I'm going to find another job. So then I started working at a marketing company as their copywriter and editor.
Oh, okay.
And it was back in the day of direct mail. Again,
Oh,
aging
yeah.
myself.
Right.
No email. I mean, we had email, but you didn't use it to
The
market.
dial-up took too long.
Yeah, no, it was like too busy. No one was giving out their email address
Sure.
back then. Anyway, so I did that and I just loved it. and
So what
then
type
kept
of
going.
content were you creating at that time?
Direct mail marketing pieces.
Like just little ones, big ones, just everything.
Every day we had a new direct mail piece.
Really?
So we would hit financial institutions and financial planners and advisors and helping them get this marketing software. And I had to write a new one every day. I had to write ads for magazines and all those types of things. And it was,
Did you enjoy it?
I loved it.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I realized as I went on, there were just things I like about it. Like I started doing SEO later and I love that it's like a puzzle. You know, you're using the same words over and over, but you don't want anyone to know that you are. And I just thought it was really fun and trying to like move it around and make people feel like they're getting something out of it. And
So at that time, did you know that you kind of found what you wanted to do, like within like the marketing world, if you will?
I don't think I was that thoughtful about it. It
Okay.
was just like, oh, this is cool and I'm getting money and I like it and it's interesting and I'm good at it. So I'll just keep going this way. And then when I had kids, I had 4 kids. And with each one, my husband and I decided that I would work from home and I would work at night and he would go to work. And I just really liked that freedom that doing online content, it was online at that time that I could start doing, that it just afforded me a lot of freedom and a lot of creativity still. And then that just kept growing like that. So that really helped for me.
So when you left being a teacher, was this just kind of the first decent opportunity that came your way, or were you out looking for that type of job?
No. I think I was just looking for anything that an English degree made sense with
Okay.
and things that I would like to do. And
Somewhere
I
you
was
could write.
writing. Yeah.
Right.
So I thought, I could do some writing and then it just kind of all aligned.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So how long were you doing the direct mail stuff?
Just a few years, few years. Yeah. 2 or 3 years. And then I started doing it freelance after that. And then just contract work for different companies.
Did you stop because you started having kids?
Yeah.
Is that why you stopped?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. I literally went till I had the baby and then I just didn't want to go back.
So you met your husband at the U?
Met him at the U.
He's a funny guy.
He's super funny. We actually met in a writing class.
I don't know him, but I've watched him mimic the
Oh.
Dr. Pepper lady or whatever.
Oh, the
it was.
kombucha girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think his is just as funny.
I've gotten a lot of that. I'm like, it's fine.
It's
I'm
hilarious.
kidding.
It gets funnier as you watch it
Yeah.
more, but you guys seem like a pretty good
Oh,
pair.
He is so chill funny.
Right.
You know, he's just like under the wire. Like people almost don't even hear him
Yeah.
because he just kind of like says things or he comes up with little quips or he's really, really
It's kind
clever.
of like Ammon with Abby.
Oh,
Have
yeah,
you
yeah,
seen-
yeah,
like,
yeah.
He says some pretty funny crap
pretty
behind
funny.
here once in a while.
Yeah.
I mean, really, probably talking about me. Did you see that one yesterday when she was telling people to go to therapy?
Oh no. That's funny.
Anyway, but yeah, I think,
Yeah,
and
he's
you know,
cool.
that's a dynamic we've been talking about a lot where, you know, we have had these powerful, influential women in here, and to kind of see what traditional roles have kind of reversed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really cool to see how awesome it works out.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you know, we talked about Susie Bullock a couple weeks ago
Oh
with
yeah,
Abby.
Susie.
And Todd is like our exemplary husband. Like
Sure.
he's the sweetest, like biggest fan of her. Now he works for her.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think it's pretty cool. But I mean, it's cool that you guys kind of, did you always want to work? Like even after having kids, you wanted to stay busy?
I didn't want to work actually, but I liked doing it and I liked having money that I could spend however I wanted.
That's
and
the common theme. You wanted to go to Target without anyone saying no.
that's a thing. I mean,
It's
it's
a
a
thing.
real thing. And
They've all said the same thing.
honestly, where my growth really started was when I thought, I really want a cleaning person to come to my house and clean my house. And I just have to make enough money to justify that. And then I was like, and I want to get my hair done. And now and I just kept adding things. And then I was like, wait. And I seriously say I call them my cleaning friends because they're my friends. And I tell
Right.
my kids, I'm like, they're not cleaning for you. They're cleaning for me. Like
Right.
these are my friends. And they're doing me a solid. And they're the sweetest. And I have these pictures of my dog hugging them. And like, they're like the best. They're seriously like I'm going to cry because I love them so. No, I'm not going to cry. But they're seriously they're just like great. And they give me so much time. They come for 2 hours and I swear they give me 2 days.
Wow.
Just because I don't have to worry about some things. And so my focus can be on what I'm good at. And then I have more time to spend with my kids. And, they're
100%.
learning more things. And so that's just how it really started taking off. I was like, okay, how much does it cost to get people to come to my house once a month? Okay, every other week. Okay, every week. And then now it's just like.
So now you see the relation to the pretzel.
Yeah, my 25 cents.
That's what I'm saying.
Wow, yeah.
It just started with wanting a pretzel.
Yeah.
That's why I like those little kid stories, man, because you can always connect them to something later, and I think it's important. That's one thing I'm really bad at is goals. Like I'm horrible at goals, and with all the guests that we've had, it's like that story right there is a perfect example of, hey, I want to work so I can get somebody to help me clean the house.
Yeah,
that's a goal, and I've got to be more intentional about saying this is what I need, this is what I got to work for. Let's go get it.
And not feeling bad about it, because I think there's
sure.
just a stigma, and maybe it's only in my head, but like clean your own house.
Yeah.
Can't you do this, or this is
right.
what you're supposed to do. I'm using air quotes, but I don't know if you saw that. Like you're supposed to clean your own house.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
I'll
no,
announce it. Air quotes.
Like gross. I don't want to clean my house, and I'm really bad at it. I'm really bad at cleaning, you guys. Like really, really bad. And I like my sweet husband. My kids will get a stain on their shirt. They're like, "Mom, what do I do?" I'm like, "I don't know. Go ask Dad." I don't know how to get stains out of shirts. I know I've read about it, but I did not hold on to it. Like cold water, hot water. I'm like, sorry. Go ask Dad. Like, my button fell off. I'm like, oh, I don't know, guys.
Sorry. Let's go get a new shirt.
Yeah, let's go. No, I mean, we try to be reasonable. But yeah, but I'm like, let's figure this out.
That's how it was. I mean, even me with my yard, like when I was like, I'm going to hire my yard out because those couple of hours, I would so much rather be doing something else. And so it provides me way more than the time it is doing the yard.
Well, I think that's what makes it not, the cliche or the, has the stigma behind it, right?
Yeah.
It's just a story you tell yourself in the head.
It is totally it's 100% true, because it's like, my wife's a stay-at-home mom, and I always tell her, I'm like, have you called the cleaning ladies? Like, I tell her that because I'm like, you have enough to do just with, like, she does laundry and she has 4 little kids. I'm like, look, cleaning the blinds and the baseboard, like all that other, like there's so much that needs kind of deep cleaned. I'm like, how is she supposed to do that? Like I can help when I get home, but I'm like, if it helps you, it's good.
Yeah.
It's just like the landscaping. That would be the man side of it, right? Like, oh, you don't mow your own lawn?
Yeah.
Which I get that all the time.
Nope,
and it's the best thing I ever said. I
well,
love
some
it.
people like it.
Oh, they do. They take so much energy out of it.
My brother, Nick, he loves doing yard work. He loves it. He likes making the lines, and he doesn't have to, but he likes it. And I think people help him with some things, but it's like, there's no problem if you like doing something or if 100%. It feels innate to you.
See, I love mowing the lawn.
Yeah.
But I hate everything else. And we have a pretty big yard. And so it's like, I found a guy that'll mow the lawn and do the edging and do the hedging. I'm like, I do like mowing the lawn because I just listen to like a podcast or a book or something while I do it. But I'll give it up if they'll do the rest of the stuff.
Yeah.
And it's great. Like one day a week they come and they blast it out in 20 minutes. And usually it took me like 45. And like you said, it gives me time.
Yeah.
And I think that that's important.
So when you started doing your freelance work, when did social start to happen? Or I guess when you were doing that, were you starting to create an audience? Were you blogging? Were you doing all that other stuff and then kind of transitioned into social where you are now? Or how did it start on like what you now do for the business with helping people kind of create their brands and communities and stuff?
Right. Yeah. So I was doing some content for people and I was contracting, and then it started going into just a little consulting from audience. And it's funny because I didn't start out trying to be an influencer, again, with my air quotes, air quote influencer, or doing anything like that. But it was that I was showing people, I was doing something for fun, but also saying, see, you can build an audience without making it look like a magazine. People want to connect, and it was that way that I started getting more into the social side. And I would go to conferences for brand side and, for companies and clients and things like that. And then when I started seeing more of how it comes on the influencer side and getting people to send me things and saying, hey, we want to work with you, it totally opened my eyes for how I was reaching out to people on the brand side and on the company side. And the people sending me things that were treating me like an influencer only, they didn't know I was in marketing and branding, and vice versa. I just felt like it really gave me a ton of insight. And I thought, okay, I got to show more people how this looks and how this works. And it was super exciting to me. So then I just started coaching more and consulting more with companies and giving them more packages so that they could kind of glean that that insight, I guess, and that back end and that's just kind of where that started growing more and more, where I did less copy and content and concepts for companies and started doing more consulting and coaching and helping them kind of see the big picture and then having someone else execute. And I was not executing as much. And that was probably only the last 5-6 years that I started not executing as much as I was coaching.
So when did you start, using your quotes, becoming an influencer? You know,
Yeah.
like when did that start to happen where people started to send you stuff?
Kids are the worst for sure.
Okay.
And that was...
What was your idea behind that?
It was just, it was that everything, it seemed for a while on blogs and Instagram that it was just pretty and perfect, and kids looked good and their socks matched. And I was like, my kids like socks. I'm like, it's fine. They're 2 socks. They're clean. Go. And, you know, with breakfast, like the lunch boxes just made me feel like the crummiest mom, you know, and I'm like, my kids make their own lunches. And I just like go, that's fine. Okay, go.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't even make their lunches for them. But I love them a lot.
We know.
They're really nice.
Listen, that's the thing.
No, it's good.
I kind of dig this.
It's
I think
the quarter.
Sometimes it's the quarter. Well, and I think sometimes like my wife and I, like she'll get so like stressed out with the kids. It's because she's so like involved in making sure everything is just so. I'm like, I think a lot of times, like my best friend does this all the time. If he watches the kids for a few days because his wife goes on vacation, he's like, this is the easiest job in the world.
Yeah.
And I think that it's easier for dads to kind of do that.
Sure.
Where it's just like what you said with the lunches, just kind of like make your own freaking lunch. I'm not making it for you. Where Ashley's like, Ziploc bag. Okay, we got to fit the banana, fruit. Just like, yeah, you got enough food in there. You're good. All right, have a good day.
Well, I think it stems a lot from just, you know, our own shame and what we perceive as being shamed,
For
you know,
sure.
and that's what I felt like a lot of the social world looked like, is kids were clean and well fed. And I thought my kids had cereal 3 nights in a row and I still love them, you know, so it kind of came as a joke with something I would say to my friends when we'd all get together and we'd complain about our kids. And I'd just say, kids are the worst. And of course they're not. We'd all laugh. And it just like made it feel like, okay, we're not so bad. We can move on. And so that's how it started, as a joke with a couple friends. And then I started using it as an example to clients. And then it just took off and it was really fun. And I loved it. And it was fun to make. And it didn't feel like work, like I would work. And then this would be my fun thing to show people at work what I'm talking about. And then it would validate. And then when BuzzFeed picked it up, and that was like 5 years ago, and they picked it up and showed it. And that's when people still cared what like BuzzFeed said, you know? So I'm grateful forever.
Yeah.
But like, that's when they could say, check out this account, and people would. And that, I remember getting to 50,000 followers, and we went out and got donuts, like huge celebration. Went to Banbury Cross in Salt Lake and got donuts, and we were like, oh my gosh, I've arrived. Like it was like the coolest things. My kids like suddenly were like, oh, this is fun and you're not being mean. Like, you know, kids didn't totally get the sarcasm, even though that's like 90% of my parenting. But then they were like, oh, this is funny. Let's keep going. And then, I don't know if I even answered where the question went, but yeah, that was just kind of why I did it. And then it just kept growing and it was fun. And then people were like, hey, do you want to try out this product? Do you want to, you know, advertise for this or that? And so then I'm like, okay, I see what's happening. I see how people get pitched.
At what time do you remember, was it like a number of followers where it went from kind of fun, we're just going to try it out, to, okay, this could be something? Like, do you remember when that moment was?
I'm okay. This is years ago though, you know? So like in context of now, everyone wants 10 grand so that they can like get swipe up and all the features of 10,000, right? But at the time, like I remember hitting 1,000 and like, who are these 1,000 people I don't know who are following me? And then I remember just like hitting each one, like the 5,000 and then 20,000. I actually went to California with my family, not my parents, my kids. And I went to my personal account all weekend as I was just documenting that. Didn't even go on to kids. And then I went back to kids and I had gained 12,000 followers. And that was,
Holy
crap.
like,
trip.
That was over the weekend. That was like 6 years ago. Like that was a ton. I kept going, what happened? What happened? What happened? Like, what did I do? And I was just like frantic and excited. And I figured out, I think I figured out where it happened. Somehow Tony Hawk followed, and then people followed what Tony Hawk followed. And so then they all got stoked. And I was like, hey, best friend. So actually I had a podcast for a minute years ago. And I just had an idea. I'm like, I'm going to start a podcast. So I messaged Tony Hawk and I said, would you want to be on my podcast? That didn't exist. I didn't say that didn't exist.
Sure.
And he said, yeah, sure.
Wow.
And I went, okay, great. So like I found this software and I was going to do the free trial. And my husband's like, what? No, buy the software.
Yeah, you
don't
got
do
Tony
free
Hawk.
software with Tony Hawk. I'm like, should I get a microphone? He's like, yes, get a microphone. Anyway, but I did 4 episodes. I'm like, this is too hard.
And Tony Hawk was on it?
Yeah, he was the first one.
Whoa.
It was, yeah, like you can hear how nervous I was on
Oh
call.
my gosh.
He had his daughter on, but it was just one of those like, thank you for like really just telling people. I think that was, I don't know how he found it, but I think that was the one. He followed it, and then that weekend it went crazy, and then BuzzFeed picked it up, and then it was just like. But here's the thing about Instagram and about any numbers, is it the higher you get when you get to a number, no matter what it is. At 1,000, you like celebrate. And it can last a long time, but I swear each number you celebrate for smaller amounts of time, and then you're just looking for the next number. Yeah. So it's like that's never where I want to have my focus, because I want to have the focus on just who's there and who cares. And, you know, they're like different things that I think are more important, like impressions and reach and things like that mean that what you're doing matters and people care. And that's the value. Because you could be chasing followers, you could be buying followers, like it, and it will never feel like enough, because you'll always look at what The Rock has. Like, well,
right.
All right, it's not that great.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I think that's what's so impressive about your accounts. Are, you know, it's easy if you're a celebrity to have a lot of followers, you know, but I mean, Anna Macfarlane from Mesa, Arizona, right?
Yeah.
I mean, marketing, like your creativity, your hard work, that got you followers.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I think that's pretty cool. I mean, it's easy for The Rock to have followers because he's on every TV show and movie that's out right now, or at least like 40% of them.
But he also has a really good strategy.
And
he legitimately, and he switches it often and in the right way.
Right.
Like I really think he does it well. There's some people who are like, well, they're getting their celebrity only.
Sure.
But I really believe that his social media helped propel where he is now.
That's interesting.
The last 5 years, like
why do you think that? Like what strategy specifically? Do you see him doing?
Oh, he changed it up. But what he was doing a few years ago that I kept talking about, I'm like, watch this, because this was before Jumanji, and I think that was when he really, this star was just like, what in the world? Who is this guy? You know, you kind of knew who he was.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
He was in Little Things, and not Little Things, just not as much as
he was a wrestler. It's like we've almost forgotten that he was a wrestler.
Oh,
Yeah.
no. I like to
that's
post
what-
those videos once in a while to remind
Oh,
everyone.
yeah, like
He was a cheesy wrestler. Like
they
super.
were all, I mean, really, they were all cheesy, but yeah, very like his little eyebrow thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I mean, it
fanny
is
pack.
impressive. I'll bet.
Smell what The Rock is cooking.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you're right. I never really thought about his social media being a part of changing that, you know, kind of what we know Dwayne Johnson
He
at, or
did.
The Rock to Dwayne Johnson.
He
Like-
posted a
like what
lot.
was it? Okay.
He posted a lot.
Okay.
And he responded to people. And that was like, and it was like the first 10 minutes he would go in, and you better believe everyone wanted to comment.
Right.
Because it was like, oh my gosh, he's talking to me, he's looking at me, he's doing something. And then he would put the camera on his stories and things. Well, this is when stories came on people that he was meeting. And he wasn't afraid of like just being silly. I mean, his videos were always so long, and he always takes himself really seriously.
Right.
But then he would laugh, and then he would but it just felt like he was actually talking to you. And he wasn't like posing. I mean, he's The Rock's, right? So it's a little different than like, a Kardashian or something where they're totally posing. But
Right.
it just felt like he was actually talking to a friend. He was looking at you, and he was laughing with you. And then he would respond to people. And he was posting often. So you felt like it wasn't for work. It was like, no, we're still talking to each other. We're communicating. And he had all these different strategies he's changed. But at first, when he was responding in the first 10 minutes, you should have seen his comments. It was just like overwhelmed. Wow. So of course people want to get notified because they want The Rock to follow, to say something. And people were screenshotting like, look, The Rock responded to me.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Well, it's like how Gary
How
Vee
do you grow?
does.
Validation
It's
is
like what
huge.
Gary Vee does with his text messages now.
Yeah.
Like he'll text like a couple people back, and he has millions and millions of people now who are giving him his cell phone number because they just want a text from Gary Vee saying hi.
He's good
Wow.
too. Like he's done a lot of really, I mean, if he's your flavor, he's not everyone's flavor.
For sure.
He's our
And-
flavor.
Yeah.
We like potty mouth people.
I always joke though, like, and I'm going to bleep myself, but like he definitely thinks he's come up with everything.
Yes.
True.
So he could say just effing do it and be like, that was genius. I just came up with that. And now everyone's going to get excited. Like, yeah, that should be on a shoe or something. Like, he would think he came up with that.
There is a lot of that. I mean,
add an F
that's true.
word to any phrase. And he's like, that was mine.
That
was me. Yeah. Like, good job, Gary Vee. But he has a lot, he does. He totally focuses on audience. He totally focuses on like relationships and like, putting it back into people, which is how he built his wine business.
Yeah.
Right.
Was like spending the time, which honestly, he probably spent too much time doing it. He probably focused way too much on the wrong things, but it was really good because of where he is now.
So
I'm just adding F words to slogans in my head right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh dang it. And it's fun.
Yeah. You're the next Gary Vee.
Yeah.
So where did you learn? I mean, as you were going through this and you did start it to grow, did you have, whether it's a mentor, did you have somewhere where you were studying what to do, or was it just kind of coming natural and you were seeing results? And so you just kind of saw, hey, this works if I do it like this. It doesn't work if I do it like that. I mean, how did you get to the point where you felt confident enough to where you could teach people what to do?
I think it's interesting. I think it's a mix of all of the things. I read a lot. I read a lot. I love listening to books on audio. I always want to say books on tape.
I still say books on tape
1996.
all the time.
Books on tape
I'm
on my phone.
starting to say audible.
Yeah, on my audio
but,
books.
Yeah.
Books on audio.
I always just say, listen to audible.
I'm just listening to books.
Yeah.
And I love doing that. I just love getting things. There are people that I just really value and respect. But also, I think it's, again, I didn't even expect this to be the theme, but I think it's just that, like, moxie, to call myself that, it feels a little vain. But really just being able to say, hey, let's try this and not talk about it. Let's not talk about if we did A/B testing. Let's A/B test. Let's try this. If it doesn't work, then we move on. And having people at the beginning that were willing to do that with me and willing to test things and try things out and not get, too precious. And then saying, oh, no, this is working and my intuition's right. And then the more I do it and the more people I work with and the more I see things and the more I do for myself, I'm like, oh, no, this is totally working. And I think this is, a talent of mine that I'm willing to work on and to research and to believe that I don't know all of it, but that it's good, that it's like works, and it kept working for people. So I was like, I'll just keep doing it.
Did you have to overcome, I love it, the imposter syndrome? Like when you were
Every
getting
day.
started, like how did you charge that first person when you were like, we should try this, but I don't really know if it's going to work, but you need to pay me to try it?
Oh yeah. I mean, I tell people when they want to start doing this, I say, okay, you need to figure out the price, and I give people like price options, and then you need to be willing to do it for half or nothing. And let them know, but after month 1, if I reach a goal, then you pay me.
Okay.
But at least set the precedent and don't
Is that
just say,
what you
I'll do it
did?
for free. Yeah.
Okay.
So that worked for me too,
Yeah.
I mean, there were a few people I'd say, let's try this. But I learned long ago that nobody values your free content. Nobody values your free advice. My friends, bless their hearts, I'm constantly giving them free business advice because I'm like, I can't help it. I'm like, what you should do? That's a really good idea for you.
We value it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What you guys should do? No, and I get like super stoked. And some of them follow through and do it. But the people who really do it and have success are the people that are paying me a lot of money. And it makes me more excited. And it makes them more excited. And then they're like, oh, this is super successful. And then I'm like, oh, this is cool. But imposter syndrome happens all the time. Like Seth Godin. Do you know Seth Godin? He's my favorite, like, ever.
Is that your go-to right now?
Oh, he's my go-to for like the last 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't believe I'm telling this story too, but I spoke at a conference where we didn't speak together. I'm not trying to pretend. And he was the main, and he was having people ask him questions. And I raised my hand. I was like so excited. Like this was nerdy Bill. And he called on someone, like he pointed to someone and he goes, and then and then he points at me. And I'm like, oh, so then I had all this time to think about my question even more. And speaking of Apple Watch, it went off. And it's like, your heart rate has escalated significantly, like 145. And I'm like covering up my watch with my sweater. Like nobody look at how freaking nervous I am to ask this question. But anyway, I digress.
Really funny.
So Seth Godin, when his This Is Marketing came out, and I was writing some content too at the same time, and I was ticked because I'm like, this is what I was writing. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And at first I'm like, who do I think I am? I'm not Seth Godin.
Yeah.
I can't say it now that he said it. Everyone's going to be like, oh, did you read the book? Well, of course I did. But also it's like, oh, I guess it's not a new idea. And then what he actually said at that conference was like, he didn't even come up with all the ideas. He's read it from other people, and your audience needs to hear it from you.
Yeah.
And
There's
they just
like
want
no
to be
original
validated.
ideas anymore.
There aren't. And yet we still feel like imposters.
For sure.
And let's be honest, nobody likes original ideas, even if they come, because it's like not comfortable.
Yeah.
They just
Remember
want to be
the
validated.
iPhone?
So what was your question? Do you remember what you
Oh,
asked
well,
him?
yeah. He said if you want people to share things, you need to validate what they already think. That's what gets shared, which totally makes sense, right? And so I said, well, what is the difference between validating what people already believe and giving them new information and new insight? Like, what is there a percentage? Like, how do you manage that? To enlighten people and not just validate them.
Mm-hmm.
And he just said, if you want things shared, you validate them, and if you want to enlighten people, you get them in. And, it's just like, okay, it just like reminded me that I can overwhelm people when I try to give all new information or enlighten people, that because not everyone cares as much as I do.
I was going to say obviously you want them to be as excited about it as you are, but some people just
no one ever is.
It's not going to mean as much.
No one's ever
to
as excited as
right.
you are about what you're doing.
Right.
No one's ever as excited about your meat as you are.
That's true. Sorry.
But it's
Let's
true.
take a moment to just think
it's
about
like,
that one.
It's like
It's
your
the
kids,
same look
right?
you gave me when you said about the old lady or cleaning their. What I was like, when you said cleaning their china, the part I laughed hardest at was you just going like.
I mean,
like your eyes kind of wide, looked at me like.
I hear how that could have sounded. So.
I'm sitting here with two 12-year-old boys. I better clarify.
Oh, please. I have that. Well, and the funny thing is my husband, he works in marketing. He's at Adobe. And he comes home and he's like, he's done. And I'm like, oh my gosh, guess what I read? Oh, I talked to this guy. Oh, listen to this idea I have. And he's like, can you shut it off? Like ever? And I'm like, I don't know if I can. Like, I'm really excited. Like, I'm just like, this is cool. Oh, guess what I found out? Listen to what I read. He's like, that's great, Anna. Like, it was really
That's
cool.
what I like with my wife.
How was
She's
your
just
day,
like,
honey?
I don't. Okay, cool. Thanks. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
I know.
So
Let's go back to Bachelor.
yeah.
But that's
Bachelor
pretty
in
exciting
Paradise.
too.
That's right. I was so mad it wasn't on last night.
Yeah.
But tonight's the night. Drama. Okay.
You know, Demi. Sorry, side note. You can totally cut this out. But
No.
Demi's laugh.
Oh,
I learned it from The
gosh.
Bachelor. I started doing it as a joke, like just joking with it. No, guys, I can't stop doing it. Like now it's real. I'm like, oh, you guys want me to come? And it's so satisfying. Try it. It's like the best.
I
laugh.
miss old Demi. I don't like this new
Well,
Demi.
sure, but like she's not laughing as much. She's
Yeah,
not being
she's
as sarcastic.
and she's not making fun of people. That's what I
Yeah.
like about her. But anyway,
It's the best. Like just try
You're
it.
spot on.
Try it when you're. I've had a lot of practice. And I can't stop it. Like even my sisters were calling me out at it. I'm like, I know, I can't stop it. And it's so satisfying. Just try it when you're alone, and then you'll start doing it. It's great. It's the best. Sorry.
I'm doing
Side
it.
note.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, Demi laugh.
Just kidding.
And Demi meaning half, because it is kind of a half laugh.
It's true. Wow.
I'm marketing it. Hold on. Just
yeah.
wait. I'm
You
gonna
should
brand
add that to the. Do
Demi
you have a
laugh.
quarter?
Yeah, pay me
Do you have a
if
quarter
want that.
account?
Yeah.
Do you have a quarter? No,
What's the question? Okay, it's back now. So, when kids was your first account, right?
I had my own, but it was just
Okay.
like a personal family.
But first one that you kind of
Was
like.
it called Anna's the Worst at the time, or was it just your
No,
name?
it's called Arzabud. It's my grandpa's nickname, but I always can own it everywhere, so I just always did.
Right.
Okay.
But yeah.
Was there a moment in kids where you decide? I guess what I'm trying to figure out is was there kind of like a light bulb moment where you're like, I can do this for a living, or I'm really good at this, or
On kids?
taking it to the next level where like I can be a social media guru, I can help
Yeah.
people with this. Was there kind of a specific moment or experience that happened where you finally realized like, hey, I'm somebody that could teach this stuff, and I'm somebody that could make a living from doing this?
I don't know. I mean, when I was doing just Kids Are the Worst, and then I was doing like email and web content and SEO and branding and all of this other stuff, I didn't really think of them as being together. It was
Right.
just like a fun side that I could also show for social. Because social at the time, 5 years ago, nobody wanted to pay me for social
Right.
media because they thought it was just cute thing that moms did
Right.
and old
true.
people. And I would say, no,
It's
this is like
crazy
where
how
your
much it's
audience is. This
shifted.
is where your brand is. And people are like, yeah, but I'm paying SEO. And I'm like, what? Don't pay SEO. Don't pay for a billboard. Billboards are rad, but like
Right.
you only have a certain amount of a reach.
Sure.
You know, pay for social media, start building an audience. And people just didn't value it. And then I just had a few successes. And I want to say that I don't know when I was like, oh, this is it. But I think it was just validating with other people that their content was working too, and that their audiences were buying and that they were staying. And I was like, oh, this is really working for not just me. This isn't just, my personality resonating with this group of people. It's really formula that
it's
anyone
like
can adopt. Yeah. Well, yeah. And like strategies changing, like build a strategy, and they will come. But really, like you build the right thing, don't just vomit what you are doing or who you are.
Right.
Like, I don't care. Honestly, like what does it have to do with me? Figure that out, get a strategy around it. And then people come and people follow and people love you and people respond and then they buy.
Right.
I'm like, oh, okay, it's working, 10 times with 10 different people. Like, all right, then I got to get it to more people and then more and more and more. So I don't know if there was like a moment. It was just like, okay.
So at what point did you shift away? Are you still doing the web content SEO stuff? Or
No.
Mostly, it's all social now, right?
It's social, but it's it's audience and messaging. So I help brands help understand where their audience is, how to sell them, because Instagram is the big pain point right now. Right. Everyone wants to be big on Instagram. Right. But you can be big on Instagram, but you need to lead your audience somewhere else. Because you can buy on Instagram, but like what else? And then that Instagram, Facebook own all the content and all your audience information. So you have to find a way to keep talking to them and retargeting them and connecting with them. So there's like a whole strategy of how do you get people to stay with you when Instagram falls apart or breaks down or there's a blackout, or when your audience isn't on Instagram. How do you keep them around? How do you keep targeting them? And how do you make money? Right. And if it's not money, get clients or a community. Like you have to get people to do one extra step so that they stay with you. Because I heard you say on Susan Peterson's podcast that that you had an app where it showed people that were unfollowing you. Yeah. And that's the worst. I did it too. And I'm like, this is energy I don't love.
Like a week.
It's bad energy, right?
Horrible. And
there are days where I'm like, oh, cool. 1,000 people unfollowed me and 1,001 followed me. So that's cool. I'm growing, rad. Yeah. But you start focusing too much. But how do you keep people there? Because I hope that if it's not serving you, that you're not following me. Right. Like, I don't want you to follow me out of any obligation. I want it to be fulfilling, because that's the whole reason we stay on social. And that's when social's awesome, is when we get to it and it fulfills us and it gives us what we need. And then we use it as a tool and not as, a chain that we're being chained to. So that's the thing, is like, how do you keep people around? And then how do you keep people even off the social? And so that's kind of what I help people, is like, okay, then what? And then where does it go? And we map it out and get people to stay with you. And you got to talk to people differently on different channels and stuff like that. Right.
Why did you choose Instagram? Did you try anything else?
Oh, for
Facebook
sure.
Or Twitter? Like, why did you land on Instagram?
Well, everyone was on Facebook, and I kind of felt like I missed the boat on Facebook.
Okay.
And I wasn't worried about it because I wasn't, sad. I was doing blogs and I was doing web content for people, and I was doing a lot of just landing page content. And then when Twitter came, I would have thought I loved it, and I didn't love it.
Okay.
It's just, I didn't like the character restrictions.
The limit,
yeah, like it just, and people were super clever, and it was just like, why is this not working for me? And my husband is just like super taken off. Pinterest, I was like, this is super cool.
Your husband does Twitter?
Oh yeah, he's like, well, yeah, his own thing.
Yeah.
He loves it. Yeah.
Okay.
That's where he goes.
Got it.
And and it's perfect for the demographic. His demographic typically goes to Twitter first.
Right.
He's a little older than even I am. and then there was Pinterest, and that was really fun figuring that out. But then when Instagram started getting bigger, it was like, oh, it's all of the things in one. And you're getting like mini blogs, and you're getting Pinterest, and you're getting the longer form of Twitter and Facebook. And I remember sitting with my husband going, this is going to be bigger than Twitter. And he's like, no, it's not. Like, okay. Like, no, it's not. I'm like, no, this is it. This is like everything we've wanted. And I think I just felt the passion. So I was just stoked on it and excited to be part of it. But
are you still experimenting on new stuff that's coming out?
I always try new things, but I mean, not everything, because everything's the new
for sure
Instagram. And so I'll try things that seem really exciting or that people are talking about, and I try to download. But the thing people don't understand when they create an app is that to take that space on people's phone is asking a lot. And so you better be really good. And especially if you're going to charge people, you better be really awesome to take that space, because we're really protective of the space of our phone. You know, my kids aren't. They're like, can I get this game? I'm like, no.
Oh my gosh.
Dumb.
Every
I
day.
get 6 of those a day.
Every day.
Because I have to approve them.
Yeah.
Their iPods.
Yeah. I'm like, no, that's dumb.
So is there something where you feel like has some legs that you are
Not
maybe
yet.
investigating or spending more time on?
No, I mean, well, okay. I take that back. Musically, it was bought out by, or they were purchased by, gosh, my son's always asking me for more time on it.
Is it
TikTok?
TikTok. Ugh, yes. Okay. TikTok.
I don't even know what that is.
I
but
do. I
hear it.
downloaded it. I erased it. It drove me crazy.
TikTok was the most downloaded social media app of the last quarter.
Right.
Okay.
Outnumbered everything, like hugely. Like it was big. Not saying that word. Anyway, I almost said it and I was like, no, but I had to get it out. Anyway, it was like out of control. And one of my friends is actually their main marketing PR person, and she's like, you want to get on it? Like, well, how can I get you to use this more? She needs more adults using it, because if adults don't start using
It's
apps,
all kids.
it doesn't get sticky. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sticky because think about a kid's attention
Right.
and what's the new thing. Like for a minute they were all on Visco, and now there's this whole brand of person that only uses Visco, and I'm like, what? I use Visco, but just to edit my photos. Like I'm not using it to be social media. Anyway, TikTok, I think more parents are getting on it. And my son just told me Steve Harvey just did a TikTok video, and my son's 15. He's like, yeah, he just did one. It was stupid. I was like, well, probably. Like you're trying to think of him doing something a 16-year-old's doing, you know. But if adults start getting onto TikTok, then I think we're going to really see a lot. Because Snapchat is like, you know, a little bit of a roller coaster, and they're still trying to get people to care and to get back on. And
But with stories, Snap is kind of...
Snap has all the media channels, you know, kind of like the magazine channels that are keeping people around. And then, of course, people love, you know, to think they're being private on Snapchat for their...
Right.
But it's not private, but whatever. and I think TikTok could get super sticky because they're changing even how their feed works. So it will be more like Instagram to make it more comfortable for older people. And I mean, when I'm saying older people, I'm like 25.
Right.
Because like...
Not the 15 to 16-year-olds.
Yeah, because they're cool with the fact that things go super fast and they're not able to go retract. Like, but adults are like, what did I just see? Hold on. Hold on.
Yeah.
Someone come clean my china.
Yeah.
This is very hard. I'll give you a quarter. But anyway, yeah. So I think if like
Come over here, Sonny.
no,
Ugh.
what? Now that got worse.
No.
But I'm not having little boys come. But anyway, so I think
little boys. I meant like
yeah,
an 80-year-old woman has china, right?
like a
Old
60-year-old
ladies.
Sonny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Sonny could be
sure.
30. Okay.
Yeah.
Like the pool boy or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Anyway.
We don't have to keep going down that road.
So I wonder if that one will. That's the only one I think that might so far. And everyone's like, oh, this is the new one. Oh, this is exciting. And the thing that cracks me up is when people say it has no algorithm. I'm like,
Everything
I feel
does.
like that's kind of impossible.
I think at this point we just
think
need to stop even using the word
Oh.
algorithm because it's just
It changes so much. There's not. I mean,
I want to use that, you know, the inconceivable from Pretty
yeah.
Princess
Bride.
Bride. And when he says, you keep using that word, I do not think it means what you think it means. Like, that's how I think every time I hear someone say
That would be a
algorithm. I'm
great
like,
meme.
you do. Well, I think it's great, but then
Right.
that gets too into the marketing world. Everyone's like, I don't care what
well,
algorithm. But
maybe.
I'm like, this is funny.
But at least in Utah, people anything with Princess Bride, they love it.
Yeah, that's true.
so do people come to you starting from scratch, or is it mainly like established brands that are hiring you to kind of help build out their strategies and stuff?
Well, currently,
You're
I'm not.
full.
Yeah, I'm super backed up. So that's why I am doing this course
Yeah.
so I can help more people. And partly it drove me crazy how many small brands and startups and people who are just wanting the information and we're hungry and we're getting this really simplified strategy, you know, of stuff you could find for free online. And that was kind of making me bummed out, you know, that people were so excited and already the content was old and it was not working. Because that's the exciting thing to me about social, but it's not for a lot of people. Is like every 3 to 6 months, I'm like,
It's
you know
gotta
how
be
I used to
new.
say,
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying that anymore. Like, do this now.
Yeah.
Like, it changes because we change. And I think that's super exciting.
It is. And being open to that, being willing to change and adopt based on what's going on.
Yeah.
So, but let's talk about what you're doing with your new course. Let's give you a little chance to chat about it.
Yeah, it's a year-long course. Well, you pay for the year because I'm going to be adding stuff to it all the time as things change. And so when people are like, what's this app? And so I can research it well and give you all the info, or like, okay, this is what a strategy people are doing. Let's see how it's working, and give you really almost like I would a client, but I'm doing it for a lot more people. And it's a course that will give you all the information you need, even if you take a couple things out of it, to get your Instagram to get to a place where your audience likes you. They know what you are and why they're going to follow. They're going to tell their friends about you. And then hopefully you're going to make money on it. So like the biggest goals for me is that people enjoy Instagram. They spend way less time on it and they make money on it.
Okay. Those first two don't seem to go together, right?
I know.
Enjoy it and spend less time on it.
I know. But like, if you understand, it's like that whole, like pulling a real curtain back and realizing, okay, this is why Instagram is doing this. And like, you get that awareness. And so you don't become susceptible to it or a prisoner of it. And you're like, oh, I get it. And then you just kind of like understand your actions a little bit more. You're almost like, okay, yeah, I'm totally cool spending 40 minutes on it at this time because I know what my output's going to be and what my input's going to be.
Outcome you're trying to create in that time, which is huge.
Yeah.
So are you helping people actually kind of create a voice? Like, will the course help them like create their voice, or is it more of a, once you know who you are, I'm going to help you get there?
And that's the thing is like, if you think, oh, I don't need all the beginner stuff, cool. You're going to start at this section, and if you're a beginner, cool. Start at the beginning section. Like, it's going to help wherever you are. And I want people to understand that your voice, you might think you know it, but we have some worksheets you're going to go through and you're going to be like, suddenly, oh wait, maybe I just have to tweak my voice just a little. Maybe I understand how I maybe misspoke there or wrote that a little wrong. And so I can just tweak it just a little and make sure people are getting out of it what they need. So speaking of Abby from last week, someone asked me last week, like, you say it takes time and it takes some consistency, but what about people like Abby? They brought her up specifically, and her whole Carol for President.
Right.
And I said, what you don't realize is that Abby had been building her fire.
We talked about that.
Did she say that?
We talked all about it.
We talked about it, like how long she had been posting consistently and been creating who she is.
Yeah, think of the difference of a spark when you're just in the middle of the air. And nothing to hold on to, but a spark when her fire is ready and her kindling is there, and then it takes off and she knows how to stoke it. Mm-hmm. And she did, because she was doing the work. I saw her, she was really involved in our group, and I saw what she was trying to post. And who wouldn't be posting all of those videos on their Instagram story? Someone who wasn't familiar with their audience and didn't know how to talk to someone like they're their friend. It would be someone who's like, I'm going to go tell my mom on Marco Polo, and then maybe I'm going to try to save it and then post it on my stories. Like, she was talking to people in
that moment.
Yeah. And then guess what? Everyone's like, she feels like a friend. Because she built that whole voice and audience, and she knew what she was doing. So then when it sparked, she's like, okay, now I know how to keep the flames going and kind of keep going. And it's like, this didn't come out of nowhere.
No, absolutely not. Well, and it kind of goes back to what you were saying about The Rock.
Yeah.
Just you can connect, right? If you feel, millions of followers, and if people still feel like they're part of it, or that it might be seen or heard, that's a big deal. That was going to be my next question, and maybe Abby answers this, but are there any newer accounts, or I shouldn't say newer accounts, but accounts that you've noticed recently that kind of fit what you believe in social media wise, or doing the right things that people could check out and enjoy and kind of get a good idea of, how you should be doing it?
Even plug some of your clients. Plug.
Plug.
Yeah,
I'm like, wait, who am I? Who signed up for next month? Let me think.
I'll be your client. I've been watching your new pro, because I'm horrible.
Oh no, for sure I'm going to
horrible at social media. Like,
I'm gonna
I've got the business, and I've just gotten to the point where, like, Bam Bam's Barbecue is always me.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have a personal account, but I'm just really bad at posting, and so, but it's so funny how much business I get when I post.
Oh,
but
totally.
It's so hard to know what to post. And so I I just need to learn and
it's
be
a
more
dance.
proactive.
It's a dance about doing it more and not caring so much, but also realizing it can last forever. You know, so it's like this funny, like getting in that headspace where you're like, okay, and then you kind of just understand how to do it. But you know, it's hard because there are so many good people out there doing it right, and there are so many people that are growing and doing it maybe not right.
Right.
That's my
Which one?
diplomatic way of saying wrong. Like really wrong. No.
What account?
I mean, you know, it's just so funny when you can just see the people who are buying their followers, you know, and see the people who are just like trying to hack the system. That's why I'm always like, you want to know the real Instagram hack? It's get people to care about you and stay on stay on Instagram, and then Instagram's like, oh, these people are valuable. Let's keep showing their content. Like that's the hack. It's not anything like all my posts and leave 3 comments and share this with a friend. I mean, that can help kind of get some momentum sometimes, but it's really about producing content that people care about. It's funny because, you know, I can't think any off the top of my head, but one of the things I wanted to do this year was introduce people that I think like my audience would like, that people I think that are really valuable, that are putting in the time and effort, but I'm trying to do it in a way that's more like joy, because, you know, you just want to add good things to people's lives, and people that are just sincerely trying to do something, even if it's totally selling their product, but it's doing something that's going to add some value or some joy, and then just kind of share something fun or interesting, because we all just want to see a little bit more. You know, we want those little moments of inspiration. We don't want someone to come in and turn on an oven, you know, up to 450. I'm trying to find something like some analogy here for you, but you're just no, like start at 350 and then move it up 5 degrees. And then move it up 5 more degrees. And then you're going to find the right one. But don't go 350 to 450. Because then you're like, whoa, burn. Do you burn? I don't know. I'm just looking at you like, does that happen?
Ever.
But like, that's like how you have to do it. It's like, just give me a little bit and show me things. And then you're going to say, this person feels like me. This person resonates. I really like this relationship. Or I got something out of it. And even though they don't talk about that, I feel validated or connected. So
how do you help business owners differentiate between themselves as a person and the brand and the business?
Totally.
Because I was somewhere last week and we were going through marketing ideas, and they used the example of LeBron James. LeBron James is a much bigger brand than the Los Angeles Lakers.
Right.
Which is crazy because the Lakers have been around and have a historic franchise with all these championships, but LeBron is way more powerful and influential. Yeah. And so how do you help someone decide whether you're going to build your personal brand or the name of the business?
Depends on who you are. Like if Cameron wants to be Cameron regardless, because here's the truth, right? You could sell Bam Bams, right? And you're still Cameron, right? Like that. So you have one thing that follows you everywhere, and that's yourself,
right?
And then you have something that is something you can sell or change or move and adapt, right? And so you kind of have to figure out, well, what are your goals? Again, back to the goals thing. Right. And I think that we have to understand that social media is not business to business. It's not a B2B. You know, Instagram businesses aren't like, oh, I mean, there's a part of that where you're like, can I learn from this company? But it's a relationship. I say it's a telephone, not a television. You know, I don't want just someone to give me a show. That's why I go to YouTube. That's why I go to Netflix. Right. You know, I don't go to Instagram to only get a show. I go because I feel like there's a connection there, and that's the people that stick around. And so when you are a brand on Instagram, you still have to think of like, how does this feel like a telephone? How does this feel like a conversation? So it might be multiple people, or it might be certain things that you're connecting to people, that it's not just like, come buy our stuff, come try our mattresses, come, you know, it's like, you know, all these things. People, I was just talking to a dentist the other day, and he's like, how many dentists are constantly showing the behind the scenes of the dental lab and nobody cares? Like, I want to see what my teeth look like. Like, what are you giving me of value that makes me want to say, I'm going to check in on my dentist's Instagram account? Like, that's a totally different thing. And so you really have to kind of peel back and see what that is. And might not be a person, but it might be just still a personality. You know, it's like it's the persona of the account that feels like a relationship. And that's what we kind of try to do. Okay. Because it's not always going to be a person. We always think it's like got to be singular. But sometimes it just has to be like, why we feel good about Trader Joe's is not because it's a person, even though Joe, I'm sure is somebody somewhere, but it's because every person that I have there feels like a person. It feels like someone that I'm comfortable with, and they all have the shirts, and I kind of know the expectation there, and I know what their value is.
Huh. Okay. This is hard because whenever she says, like, I'm not thinking of other questions because I'm just like,
How's that?
I'm like taking notes. Like I'm just like, I need this. This is good. No, that's really good advice. It's like Chick-fil-A. My pleasure.
Yeah.
Like you just know what to expect. It's the same every time, no matter where you are in the country. It's like, yeah. Anyway, well, we've been at it for like an hour and a half. We
Have
don't
we
want to
really?
take. I saw you look at your watch.
Well, no, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't late to.
Are you okay?
My car appointment.
Oh no.
I'm fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
Wow.
I just felt like it's gone so fast. I was hoping
It has
was
gone.
3 hours. It just feels so good. Feels so comfortable.
Well, no, that's really good advice for me because I've had a few people tell me that. It's like you know, even though I am Bam Bam, right?
Yeah.
They're like, you still have to separate, you know, you need to give people a window into your normal life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then have the restaurant over here. And it is true. When I post like food pics, that's where I get the most traction. I mean, that's what people like to see. But they also like them when I'm in it.
What about like a family picture with food? Do they like those?
I don't know. I've
Yeah.
never tried that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've never. But that's the thing is, I'm not that. And like, I don't think like
You're
that.
not
I'm just
that
like,
intentional
I need
necessarily.
low hanging fruit. That's
No,
always
for
been my
sure.
problem. It's like, oh, that's a cool picture. I'll post it. I haven't posted it. I've posted like one picture in 2 weeks,
Oh, yeah.
and it's hard. I've got to actually spend more time thinking about it. But
Strategy.
well, but that's the thing. That's why I'm actually excited for the course because
Mm-hmm.
I need some direction on what to be sitting down and thinking about and planning. Because right now I'm just kind of like, you know, Susan gave me a good idea. Like hire a couple photographers.
Yeah.
Come in, take a bunch of pictures of food.
Yes.
That way you've just got
Yes.
this big stash, and then you can start being more regular, and then be you in your stories.
Amen.
Okay, well that's.
I
good.
agree.
So
And
she was right. Susan,
no.
nice job.
Yeah, Susan's.
You've been
Susan's
validated
brilliant.
by the
She's
queen.
Brilliant. No, it's true though. And that's the thing is you don't realize how much time you're actually taking thinking about the fact that you're not posting and what are you supposed to post.
Yeah.
Like that's so much time and energy that is doing nothing for you.
Right.
And so if you had all that time and energy creating something and then you're just free.
Right.
Like that really is why it gives you more time, and it takes
Absolutely.
time away, you know, when you're not thinking or you're like trying to see what is everyone else doing, and then you go down those wormholes and then you just feel crummy. So you're
Right.
like, well, everyone's doing everything and I'm not doing anything.
I mean,
and
you hit it on
Yeah,
the head because
you're not
that
the
is
only one.
100%. Like I feel like I'm like, man, I am just pissing away money. Like I should be out in front of my customers and I need to be posting more regularly, but I'm like, I don't know what to post.
yeah,
and
you're not the
so-
only one. And it's really just about taking this little bit of chunk of time and then scheduling it and organizing it. And then it just becomes so much easier and so much more fun.
Right. Well, that's interesting. And then I can have more of the free bird side of me on the stories.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, for sure.
Doesn't
Stories
necessarily
is
have to
that.
be like super brand specific.
Stories?
Right.
No.
Okay. See,
No way.
Maybe that's the way
And
to
that's when
balance it.
people like it. And that's the whole like breathing part of
Right.
like just knowing that there's something going on and like people are alive, and more people are going to stories first. And if they're seeing
true.
your stories, then they're going to see your feed, and like all the things start working together. And this is a little side note, and I'm sure there's a whole feature of it in the course, but it's like if you realize that Facebook, who owns Instagram, right?
Right.
Facebook really wants to be a YouTube alternative, right? So understand that they want video.
Huh.
So the more you are willing to put in for video content, IGTV, anyone? If you do IGTV and you do it well so that people care about it, you're going to be pushed to more people. So you can't be worried about like the stories. Just have fun on that because it's pushing the video content, and
Right.
then they're going to value you more. Like I had an IGTV I posted on Kids Are the Worst last week, and it already has 5 times the impressions. That's the amount of people have seen it as videos I posted that got a lot of views 5 weeks ago.
What's the difference between IGTV and stories?
Longer.
IGTV, it's longer. And yeah, you're putting it in this little part of your Instagram. So yeah, and it's like, could be 5 minutes and 10 minutes, and it goes right into your
I didn't
post
even
as
know
well.
that. I thought you did the video and it just broke it up into.
That does in stories. So
That's
IGTV,
stories.
you don't create it in Instagram. You create it outside of Instagram and then import it into Instagram. Yeah.
You're going to learn about this when her course comes out, Cam.
No, that's why I'm excited about it.
Yes.
The other thing that I want to, there is this new feature I learned about today.
Yeah. Oh no, they're laughing. I'm nervous.
So we're going through your stories,
Yeah.
and I keep hitting back to finish reading things. And Andrew's like, if you just hold your thumb down on
Yeah.
the screen, it'll pause. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's like, like mind blown.
Every once in a while, I tell people to do it just to remind them. But sometimes I even do it like hold down to read, mom. Like I'll just like say to my mom, and so then people are like,
clue.
So they don't feel like I'm making them feel like they're bad. I have to keep telling my mom, I know you know this, mom. I know you. I'm not really talking to you, mom.
That's really funny.
So yeah, that was a good feature. But the other thing I'm excited about with your course is, I think that there's an art to the writing part, which
that's
is kind of
your part for me,
which is like your forte, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that it's like I can put up an awesome picture of brisket, right? But how do I change up what I'm putting underneath it? And so is that a part of the course?
Oh my gosh, totally. Because if you also realize that it's time spent is the algorithm, right? They like when you spend, no matter what changes, they're going to want people to spend time on your post, because that means they're spending time on Instagram, which means they're making money because they're more valuable, right? So that was really like one breath. So if you can get people to stop on your post and actually read your content, and then maybe even read the comments, right? Then that is like a cha-ching, right? It's like Instagram goes, this is super valuable. I really like these people. They, their audience cares.
Right.
So you don't want to throw away your caption. It's like get people to stop with the picture and then get people to stay with the caption. So did you say you already have it? No.
What? No.
Of course.
I want, because it's not out yet, right?
No. Yeah, I had a beta version, and then now I've put it.
Are there any more codes for that? I'm just kidding.
No. I'm like to my beta. No,
Can
it's gone.
Please get in.
But it's January, September 30th.
Yeah, it's close.
Is the launch. It's super close. But we have killer captions, and it's a whole swipe file, and I give you it's like the recipe, and then I give you an example of how to use the recipe.
Oh, okay.
And so I have like my top 11 that you can just reuse and repurpose, and then it's a little bit of like, here's how like a formula works that gets people to stay and gets people to talk. But then they're just like other ideas. When you're like, I want something new, I want something different, you can go to like number 57, and it's like doing something just like a little funny quip that I wouldn't suggest doing it all the time, but every once in a while it'll get people to engage because you're asking them something. But if you did it every time, they'd be like, okay, we get it, cut it out, but it just kind of like to get your mind going, get your juices flowing. And then there's like some practicing, and the more you do it, it's just like super easy.
Right. And I think that's probably it.
Just consistency compounds.
But you need to know where to start. Like, I don't know. We have a, I was going to say a slow cooker. Oh my gosh.
Sweet, you have a crock pot? That's awesome.
Oh my gosh.
We're just alike.
What is it called? A smoker?
Yeah.
I'm really good at it. Actually, I'm totally not. And my husband is like, he keeps saying, let's learn this together. I'm like, it's okay. Like, it's really good. Like, you're really good at this. Quality times is love language, by the way. But anyway, so he wants to follow. He's like, you just need to know where to start. And then you can start getting creative, and then you can start doing. But he's like, okay, how long do I do it? You need to know like numbers. You need to know all the things about a smoker. Right. Wow.
There's a lot there is a lot to know.
It is. Or like dry rub, or like, I don't know. When do I put the seasonings on? The brush stuff and wetness. And,
the mop.
And the mop. And the
sounds like we have knowledge we can exchange. There's value here on both sides.
Value.
There's an exchange,
I am willing.
There's an exchange of value.
This is what I'm doing with Rena.
Oh, are you really?
Like, my wife is a perk person. I now like to chill. The energy doesn't do much for me. But her husband's kind of obsessed with smokers now.
Gary, yeah.
And so I was like, want to do a little trade?
Have you tried her Mexican hot chocolate?
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's the one.
That's my favorite.
The best one, the chill Mexican hot chocolate. That's what I tried the other day. But I was just like, let's do a little trade.
A little trade.
She's like, done. I'm like, I'll come over. I'm like, only at your house because I want to play with your bulldog. Like, I'm a huge dog person.
Oh, good.
And she's like, do you want some perk? I'm like, well, yeah, that's what I was calling for. I was like,
trade.
let's do a little trade. So whenever you're ready, I'll come teach your husband. Then he'll leave you alone.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, hopefully.
And then you can, instead of talking to him and pretending to care about what he's doing.
No, I think it's
you
exciting.
can help me.
Yeah.
With 10 minutes of social media advice.
10 minutes for 2 hours of your.
Yeah. Listen, I'll give him 10 minutes for 1 minute.
Okay. No, that's good. I like that. That's a good number.
Your time's a little more valuable.
No, but I just think it's the same thing. It's just knowing the recipe, knowing how to do it. And then, but that's the thing is I look at a smoker and I'm like, like, I don't know. It literally overwhelms me.
Right.
Because they're just these components. I don't get what this little like teepee thing is on the side.
The stack is what it's called.
See?
Yeah.
What?
God, I'm feeling smarter and smarter by the minute.
But like, I just look at it and I'm like, it feels too much.
Right.
And that's how people look at captions. And then I'm coming in like
social media, like what you're describing is exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't, Like when people start saying the algorithm word and they start saying like, this is what you got to do. It's like you saying the time thing is the first thing that really has made sense and clicked to me. It's like, I understand engagement and comments are all important, but time spent, like if you can keep people in your posts, like for some reason that clicked.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of it is just how it's communicated.
And just like knowing how to use your voice and write it simply. Like you could just say, oh, this is the stack. And I'm like, oh, okay, now it's the stack. And then you just take little pieces and then suddenly I'm better than my husband at smoking meats.
That'll
Anyway.
be a
I
fun
can get you there
conversation.
fast.
So yeah, it's fun. So yeah, there's that section. There's a lot of little sections depending on what you need. So if you need captions, you got the captions. And then you're like, oh, now today or this month, I'm really wanting to work on, converting to sales or getting people to my website. So I'm like, cool, go to this section and you're going to have videos and
Where can people
workbooks.
find the course when it's released?
Yeah.
Hold on. I think by the time this podcast is released,
it'll be
Yeah, it'll be out.
okay. So go to Anna is the worst on Instagram. I'll have all the links there.
Okay.
We've been converting and moving things over. So I just want to make sure I have the right website address that it'll be housed at. So
Right.
Anna is the worst. I'll have everything there and all the.
What would you
the deals.
consider your greatest talent?
Oh, is this a question?
Yeah,
you
it's a
asked?
question because so there's something that's standing out to me, and I just wondered if you noticed. If I mean, you got to brag about yourself a little bit. Like what you've done
I'm
is
fine.
incredible, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so, what about you and your personality has benefited you most with what you're doing now? I guess is the question I'm trying to ask.
I don't know. My demi laugh? No, I don't know.
It is pretty good. It's phenomenal.
No, I'm trying to think of I don't know. What is my greatest talent is. Gosh, I just have so many.
You do.
No, I'm not afraid of the fact that I've been blessed.
Demi laugh would have been really good. Right there.
I know, but that was like my big laugh. So
Right.
sorry, I'll work on it. I don't know.
So I feel like you're a very intuitive person.
Oh, thank you.
Do you ever think that about yourself?
Yeah.
I feel like you're really ahead of the curve. I mean, if you look at direct mail and then you look at going into, Pinterest, it kind of feels like you were ahead of, like even with Instagram,
Right.
you were very ahead of the curve. And that's why I was glad that Andrew asked you about, like, what are you seeing anything on the horizon that you're interested in? And when you said yes and no, like you kind of talked about TikTok, but I feel like you are seeing things before other people, especially in this space.
Oh, that's nice. I do think that there's that aspect to it, and I feel like things that I try then start becoming things and other people could be doing them at the same time.
Right.
But, I don't look at what people have done. I want to see like some new ideas and I get excited
You're
about
looking
that.
forward.
And I get excited and I don't get overwhelmed by it. I see it as like this cool opportunity. So I think that's too. I think maybe a
next new
talent.
challenge for you.
I think one of my talents is just being excited about things and not being.
Well, you found your
overwhelmed
thing,
by it.
and I think that's. I mean, for me, that's what barbecue was for me. It was the first place where I'm just like, I can outwork anybody in this space because I love it. Like, it is so much fun for me, and so your love of writing, and I mean, I guess we could say marketing.
It's really like
it all
audience.
fits so perfect.
It's
right?
just getting people to see each other and like communicate. Like I love that connection. I think that to me, and if you realize that all what we do is really marketing and connecting,
right.
and we think of marketing as like exchanging money, but it's not. We all want to like believe the stories that we tell about ourselves.
You can even say networking, right? I mean, it's
but
kind
then
of the same thing.
But don't say network marketing. I'm
Oh,
just
yeah,
kidding.
well.
You can. I'm totally teasing. Just not a lead in with that. But everyone, just wants to connect. And if you realize that marketing is really just connecting and getting people what they want in the best way possible, and you're saving them time and giving them, helping them tell their story.
Right.
And you're like, cool. It's actually amazing that we get to do that.
Right. Well, and it can turn into real. I mean, I think that's the other thing is some people look at it and kind of jaded, right? Just, well, it's not a real connection. I'm like, well, I've got a lot of real connections because of social media, right?
100%.
I mean, you wouldn't be sitting right here if I didn't find your social media because, and I mean, it doesn't mean that they're not real people, right? It doesn't mean that they're not real people and that you can't reach out and talk to them and become friends. And so it's, I think it is important and to keep it your voice because it's like, you do want people to like the real you. I mean, talk about imposter syndrome. Like if you present something fake, then you're never going to want to hang out with anybody because they'll see the real thing, right?
I think we do a huge disservice thinking that online is not real.
Right.
It is just as real
100%.
as physical. And it makes us do real things, and it makes us connect with people in a real way. And I mean, this is the thing when I teach kids about it, and that's a totally other thing that I do is I have like kids courses to talk to kids about social media, but that's not fine. That's fine. But what I tell my kids is like, if you realize how your online persona is being built, and it's just as real as your physical persona, and sometimes even more real because you really know who this person is. And when I just meet you guys, I only see so much.
Right.
But your online persona is huge, and it's real, and our connections are real, and our relationships are real. And we do ourselves a disservice by thinking that it's not, because then we don't take it seriously, or we don't appreciate it, and we don't value it or put the energy into it that's good. We just go, oh, this is fake.
Right. It's almost the most efficient way of reality, if you think about it. I mean, because we can connect with so many people, right? Like we can stay in touch with so many people. And you just can't do that with a telephone or a text it's just a great way to stay connected. And so yeah. Well, we don't want to take up any more of your time. This has been amazing. We'd love to have you back on.
You.
See, the
thank
kids
you
thing that you just mentioned would be a fascinating topic to talk about.
And I have a lot of, like, if you ever want to do more, there's some people I can suggest too that are doing really awesome things. There's a lot of good content out about there. And there's some that's...
We would love that. If there's some guests that you think would be, we would love to have some more people on. But thank you for coming. I hope everybody, we've got... Let's say those again. Anna's the worst. Kids are the worst. Kids are the worst. Well, they're all funny, but kids are the worst is hilarious.
Yeah. For the course, Anna's the worst. Go check it out. And
Things are the worst. That's right.
Thank you
so
much.
How do you do 3 accounts? That's amazing.
And I also have the worst house, and dogs are the worst. And it's ridiculous.
Dogs are the worst. I gotta follow.
I know. My husband's supposed to do that one for me because my brain can't wrap around it right now. But
oh, it's impressive.
It's fun.
You're amazing. Thank you for coming on.
It was really fun.
Thank you for saying that. All right, guys. Thanks for joining. Bye.